Got another video on the 2016 Chrysler 300 3.6 liter. Going to be replacing all 6 spark plugs. So first thing you want to do is go ahead and pop your hood. Okay, so with your hood popped here, and I just want to let you guys know I'll be doing 3 separate videos at the same time. So hopefully I don't leave anything out. But the first video is going to be replacing all 6 spark plugs. Second video, I'm going to go ahead and replace the oil filter housing and cooler. And then on the third, I'm going to be replacing the thermostat, the coolant pipe, and then also draining the cooling system as well. So in order to access the spark plugs here, we're going to need to remove this engine cover first. So go ahead and just lift up on it and it should just pop right off. Just like that. And then if you look here, you got these little tabs here, which snap into these round parts here. Next, I'm going to go ahead and take my air compressor and blow tool. I'm going to blow all this dust and everything off of here. And it looks like something's been under here like a mouse and has been chewing at this foam here. So I want to make sure I blow all that stuff out of there. So in order to get to the spark plugs on this side, we're going to need to remove this intake here. So let's go ahead and do that next. So take an 8mm. Let's go ahead and loosen up that hose clamp there. Come over here to the throttle body, loosen up that one, and you can see whoever's been here before didn't even put that on all the way. Go ahead and loosen that. Next, go ahead and unplug this sensor here. What you do is you got a little tab right here, so you push down on that and then pull out. That's what that looks like. So now we should be able to pop this off. And there should be a rubber plug holding that down right there, but you can see this one's missing. So again, somebody didn't put this back on correctly. But you can just pull it off your air filter housing there. And then you should be able to just pop that off like that. Next, let's go ahead and just start unplugging some of these sensors here. We'll start on the throttle body here. So you got this sensor here. There should be a tab right there, but you can see this one's broken off here. So this will just slide right off, just like that. And you got this little clip holding that on there. And you got one right here as well. That just lifts off. So take you a little screwdriver here and see if you can just kind of pry out on this. And it looks like that just broke as well. So just get underneath it like that. You can see that's what that looks like, but oh well. So then just press down on this. That'll unplug like that. Come on the back side here. You got a hose right here. Go ahead and try and pull that off in there. I believe that goes to your brake booster there. And then looks like we got another one on the back side here. But try and slide that one off as well. Just like that. Next, let's go ahead and remove this hose here, which I think is a breather hose for the front differential. You can go ahead and unclip it here. And then you got these clips holding it on here. Same with right here. Get that out of the way. Next, we need to remove these 2 10mm nuts that are on these studs here that are holding the intake on to these brackets. So go ahead and pull those off. That's what those look like. then back over here to the throttle body area. So you got a 10mm nut there, and then another one right there. So go ahead and remove those two. So next, it's kind of hard for you guys to see this, but so there's this bracket here, and you can see that little wire loom is connected to that bolt there. So I'm going to try and pull that wire loom off there, that clip, and then see if I can undo that bolt there, and then hopefully we can get this bracket out of the way. That way we can get the intake up here. So I'm just going to take you can use a flathead or whatever you need. Just see if you can pop this off of here. See, it's just connected on the stud there. Let's see if you can get that off, just like that. And let me grab my wrench. So then take you a 13mm, and let's see if we can get that stud out of that bracket there. So you may have to move this back a little bit. Get on it here. Let's see if you can pull that out of there. Once you get it kind of broken free, seems like it's going to come out easy by hand here. So that's what that looks like. And let's see if we can just kind of tilt that bracket back like that, just to get that stuff out of the way. Okay, so now let's go ahead and remove all 7 of the intake bolts. They're going to be 8mm. So you're going to have one here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then your 7th one's going to be right there. So let's go ahead and remove those. So now we should be able to remove the intake here, the upper part. And so what you want to do, so since these brackets are still on there, I'm going to try to just kind of lift up and then scoop it out of there. So just go ahead and pull up. Just like that. And looks like I'm getting caught on this hose here. And then go ahead and lift your intake out of there. Then you go ahead and lift this foam piece out of here. Just make sure you don't drop anything down in the intake there. And you can see right here, there's just stuff everywhere from where there was a mouse in here chewing at it. So get this out of the way. Next, go ahead and grab you a clean rag here. And I'm just gonna put this over this, because we don't want anything falling down in there. Because what I'm going to do, take my air compressor tool here, blow all this stuff out again, because you can see it's just everywhere here. So you just want to make sure none of those pieces go down into that. So let me go ahead and do that real quick. And while I do that, I'm just going to have my arm over this so it doesn't blow off. Okay, so let's go ahead and start unplugging our coils here. Like I said earlier, I was doing a separate video, so I went ahead and replaced this oil filter housing and the oil cooler, all that underneath this. So if you guys are interested in that, check that video out. But go ahead and unplug these coils here. So you just got a little tab here. Just press down and then pull out. Then go ahead and grab a 10mm. Let's go ahead and remove the coil bolt here. Once you get that removed or loose, you can go ahead and just pull up on the coil boot here. That comes out like that. And then if you take a look here, you can see your spark plug down inside there. So grab a 5/8 spark plug socket, and you can see there's a rubber washer in there. That's what helps grip onto the spark plug and lift it out of there once you loosen it up. So let's go ahead and pull that spark plug out of there. Get latched onto it. Pull that out. That's what that looks like. All right, so let's take a look at our old plug here. So Chrysler and pretty much Dodge use the Champions as the original plugs in these cars. And this one has about a little over 60,000. I figured just might as well replace it since I'm in there doing that oil filter housing. So I went with the NGK Laser Iridiums. Part number 9723. I got this whole 6-pack off Amazon. I'll put a link in the description for them. And go ahead and pull one out. So that's what those look like. And NGK says these are already pre-gapped, so you don't need to gap them. If you want to check them, I think it's 0.044 inches. So what I do is just take some anti-seize. I can put this in the description as well. So just go ahead and put a little bit of anti-seize on here, not too much. Just coat the threads so it's easier for the next person when removing them. Just like that. So then go ahead and take your new plug, and you can stick that into that little black boot inside here. And that kind of holds it in place so it doesn't fall. Go ahead and stick your new plug down in here. And you always want to screw these in by hand, or at least get them started. So go ahead and tighten that up, and then we'll go ahead and torque it here. So grab your torque wrench, and you're going to torque those, or your spark plugs, to 13 foot-pounds. Just like that. And then next, I like to take some dielectric grease. So some Permatex like that. I'll put a link in the description for this as well. And then I like to just put a little bit in this boot here. You don't need much. Just a little bit like that. So now let's go ahead and stick this down onto our spark plug. And get that seated. Also get your bolt lined up here. Grab your 10mm. Let's go ahead and tighten that down. And just kind of get that snug. Don't need too much on it. And then you can plug in your coil there. We should be good. So I'm going to go ahead and knock out these two real quick, and then we'll move on to the other side. All right, so there's those three on the passenger side. Let's go ahead and move on to the driver's side ones. So it's going to be pretty much the same thing on these ones here, but you can see on this one, this clip is broke. So whoever did this before or unplugged this, broke that one clip off there. Again, go ahead and grab your 10mm. Take off your coil bolt. Go ahead and pull your coil boot out of here. And then of course grab your 5/8 spark plug socket. Let's go ahead and pull that out of there. There's that one. Get your new plug in there. Go ahead and screw that in by hand. And go ahead and torque that 13 foot-pounds. Grab your dielectric grease, put a little in there. Push down on your coil. Go ahead and tighten down your coil bolt. And plug it in. All right, let me go ahead and knock out these other two here really quick. All right, so there's all the spark plugs. Really simple job to do once you get that intake off and everything. You got easy access to all 6 pretty much. So let's go ahead and start getting the upper intake back on. All right, guys, and I just took a couple zip ties there. You can see now that ain't gonna come loose since that clip was broke. You don't want this coming loose, especially with this end being under the intake and really hard to get to. So go ahead and remove your rag from here. And what you want to do next is we need to replace these little gaskets here. You always want to do this. You never want to reuse them just in case you get a leak or something. They're cheap enough to buy. And since our oil filter housing kit came with it, we'll go ahead and replace them. For you guys that are watching the spark plug video, I'll put a link in the description to a set of these on Amazon. So if you take a look here, you got a little insert there. You can just take a pick under there. Go ahead and pull these off. Go ahead and take your new gaskets. Just go ahead and set them in and then just kind of lightly press down. Make sure they're in there all the way. Go ahead and do that to all these. And then go ahead and put this foam piece on that the mouse had a heyday on. That's going to sit on there like that. So now grab your upper intake, and what I like to do is go ahead and unscrew these until they kind of get stuck into the plastic there and they're not going to go anywhere, and to where they're not sticking out, poking through the bottom here. You want to do that on all those, so that way we can get this up on top here without having to mess with those screws. And go ahead and get your intake up here. Again, kind of sliding it onto the studs over here on the driver's side. Once you get it through there, so you can kind of just set it down here. Make sure none of these hoses are in the way. And just like that, kind of sits on top there. So what you want to do now is, let's just poke all those back through and just kind of get them started by hand here. Just make sure they thread into there without any issues. For some reason, this one's kind of hard to get started on here. There we go. So if it's having issues, just back it out and then just kind of move the intake a little bit and try it again. But now I got them all started by hand here. So let's go ahead and snug them up. And the way you want to snug these up is you're going to start out with that one back there. That's going to be 1. Come up here to this is going to be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7. So let's go ahead and snug those up lightly, and then we'll go ahead and do the final torque. So then grab your torque wrench, and we're going to torque those to, I'm going to go 8 Newton meters, but it even says on here, go between 7 and 9 Newton meters, which I think is right around 89 inch-pounds. Again, you're going to go in the sequence. So I'm going to start all the way back here and get on it. And then all the way up to here, it's going to be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then I'm just going to double check again. So next you can go ahead and just start connecting everything up. Again, this is your breather hose for your front differential. If yours is an all-wheel drive, let's go ahead and snap that in right here. And these just clip onto here. Just kind of like that. Next, grab your 2 10mm nuts here. Let's go ahead and get those on both of those studs there. And go ahead and tighten those down. Sorry about that, camera fell there. And then again, get your bracket in place here. Get that over those 2 studs here. So like that. And get your 2 10mm nuts. I'm just going to get these started. And again, get your this little stud back here, which holds this bracket in place. It's kind of hard to see, but try and get that started. Once you get that hand tight, grab your 13mm. Try to get back in here and go ahead and make sure that's tight. I think we're good right there. And then go ahead and get this little wire loom that goes on top of that. Push that on like that. And then go ahead and tighten these up with your 10mm. Then go ahead and connect your hose here for your PCV valve. Get that pushed on. And then go ahead and grab this one that goes from the brake booster to your intake. Go ahead and push that on. And then you got this little clip, snaps into this hose. And take this one, goes from your evap canister over here. Push that on there. Go ahead and grab your throttle body wires and all this. Go ahead and snap that in. Then your little clip here. And like I said, this clip's broken as well, so I may have to repair that one. Go ahead and plug that one in there. This clips onto the intake there. So again, I just took a couple zip ties there, so now that won't come unplugged. Next, we'll go ahead and get our intake back on. So go ahead and slide that onto your throttle body here. Kind of get that in place. Come over here to your air filter housing. Put that on. Go ahead and plug in your mass airflow sensor here. And then just make sure that it's on all the way. And then like I said, there's supposed to be a rubber piece down here, but this one's missing it. So just make sure that's on all the way. Go ahead and tighten up your hose clamp with an 8mm. And of course, same thing on this one here. Okay, so with all that back together, let's go ahead and start it now. Okay, so with our plugs all in, let's go ahead and start it, make sure it runs. As you can see, running just fine. No check engine light or anything. RPMs look good. So it seems to be running just fine. So I think we're good on that. And then don't forget to put your little engine cover on here. Get all those lined up. Again, these little rubber areas here, click onto those. Just make sure you get those all lined up. And just push it down into place, just like that. Okay, so that's gonna be it for the video. Again, this was a 2016 Chrysler 300, 3.6 liter. Went ahead and replaced all 6 spark plugs. Not too bad of a job to do once you get that intake and everything off. And hopefully this video helps you out. If it does, why don't you subscribe to the channel, check out all my other videos. Got quite a few on this car alone, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.